Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Reed Step. I am your host, Isaiah Ruiz, and today we got a couple things to talk about. We're going to talk about Championship Sunday, which is tomorrow, and we're going to talk about a college football player who has been in the news a little bit for all the right reasons, coming off of a national championship. But first, like I said, we're going to start off with the NFL, and we're going to have the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. AFC Championship game. Come on, Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. Once again, you got Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. This is a career cementing game for really both guys. Josh Allen, see if he could get over the hump and finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs en route to his first ever Super Bowl appearance. First Super Bowl appearance for the Bills in a very long time. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes looking to get to a third consecutive Super Bowl and win three-peat. Put himself in the record books, not just in the NFL, but for sports in general, the first possible three-peat ever in NFL history, and also on the line, really just the one of the greatest, if not the greatest, sports team, arguably ever in the history of sports. I mean, if they win a third one, that's 4 Super Bowls in 5 years, including a three-peat. And this is we're talking in the NFL, the number one sport in the country. And it's just going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Chiefs are going to have to figure out a way to score many points because I think the Buffalo Bills are going to score a lot of points. And I get that the Chiefs' defense is all-world, everything, but Josh Allen has been an absolutely insane, as he always is every year, but this year he's just absolutely diabolical with the ball. And I say with the ball, it's not such a general thing to say. What I really mean to say is just, he just all year is playing at an MVP level, running the ball, throwing the ball. And you're talking about somebody who's not even a big fan of Josh Allen or the Buffalo Bills, but you got to give credit where credit is due. And he's rightfully so one of the top, if not the top candidate to win MVP this year. And I think he's going to make plays. I talked about the Bills a number of times throughout the playoffs, having really the freedom of not having to worry anymore about satisfying the need of one particular receiver, a star receiver, or just a weapon in general. Now he has the ability to either be the weapon himself or hand it off to James Cook or some of the other weapons that he has on that offense. And a lot of times he has done it himself. A lot of times he's done it himself, whether it be on the ground and just running the ball. And it's shown really through the success of his team. They're 13-4 on the regular season, and now that he has led his team to yet another playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to be, I believe, the 4th game against Kansas City. And the 3rd, I want to say, the 3rd in Kansas City itself. Now, as far as the Chiefs, like I said, they're chasing three-peat. Patrick Mahomes is chasing Tom Brady, but in the sense of what I mean by that is, if Patrick Mahomes goes and wins a 3rd straight Super Bowl MVP, 4 in 5 years, all of this before the age of even freaking 30, we're talking. So Tom Brady's the GOAT, and I still have him as the GOAT. Patrick Mahomes is about right here. He goes and he three-peats this. The first ever, mind you, the first ever person in NFL history, the first ever team in NFL history to go and three-peat. And what do we always remember about the 93 Bulls? And that was when they created the statue. That was when they proclaimed Michael Jordan as the greatest of all time. Why did they proclaim him the greatest of all time? Magic Johnson had 5 rings. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had 6 rings, 6 MVPs. Magic had some MVPs. Why Michael Jordan had only 3? Well, quite simply, he was the first one to three-peat in NBA history. Not to mention he did it twice. He went on to do it twice. He also did it in a way that the league and the world had never seen it before. And that's what we're seeing from Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is doing this, the greatest quarterback talent of all time. Just absolutely unreal, insane. We've seen it since the day he started as a Kansas City Chief. In 2018, technically. I know 2017 is his rookie year. He did start that last week of the season. But Patrick Mahomes is going to be up there. I'm not going to put him ahead of Brady, but when you talk about the GOAT, the NFL greatest of all time, it's Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. That's the greatest of all time. That is what the mark is at. And if he goes on his career, let's say they go on and they three-peat, right? They go on, they make this three-peat, they really cement the dynasty. 4 in 5 years, insane, by the way. And they go on, whatever. After this year, they go on, don't make the playoffs. Not that it's going to happen, but don't make the playoffs or don't go to the Super Bowl or don't make it to the AFC Championship game. They have already cemented a dynasty right now, having 3 and 4 years. They're going to continue to be successful, by the way. But what I'm saying is, if they win a fourth in a 5 year period, it's gonna be like this is the Patriots went a very long time without winning a Super Bowl from the last one that they won against the Eagles to when they eventually did win again against who did they play? Who did they? I think it was against the Seahawks, right? I'm pretty sure it was against the Seahawks where when they won it again. So I think that time there's going to be a little bit of a gap right there for Kansas City also, but they understand, and I think everybody knows if they win this Super Bowl right here, that gap is not going to be like, oh man, like I don't know if we're ever gonna. They'll get back there again as long as Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce is going to retire within the next maybe 3-4 years, maybe even less than that. You got some guys also on that offense that are probably going to filter in and out. They still don't really have a number one weapon as far as receivers. They have, I mean, they do have Isaiah Pacheco at running back, but who knows? Maybe one day they go out and get somebody else as well. They like to utilize a lot of offensive weapons. Andy Reid does that a lot. Maybe they go out and they get a tight end to replace Travis Kelce with it. You never know. The defense is always going to be the defense. They're really young on defense, really, really good. Very good at tackling, very good at pursuing. They're going to be them. But what I'm saying is if they win the Super Bowl, I really don't think that you worry too much over the next 2 to 3 years. Oh, man, we need to win another Super Bowl. They're going to want to win the Super Bowl. They're going to want to win as many Super Bowls as they possibly can. And I really think if Patrick Mahomes wins a fourth, he really has a good shot of passing Brady and the 7 Super Bowl mark. Now, I don't think he needs 7 rings to pass Tom Brady as the greatest of all time. I'm talking passing him. I think if he gets to 5 or 6 even, doing what he's doing, potentially, again, this is all vindictive on if he goes out in three-peats within the next 3 weeks. If he goes out in the next 3 weeks and does three-peat, 5 or 6 with being the first to do that, with all the MVPs that he has, all the numbers that he's putting up, I think he would become the greatest of all time. And I didn't think I was ever going to see the greatest of all time again. I thought Brady was Brady and that was it. Like and to be fair, we're never ever going to see what Tom Brady did. I don't want to dismiss that or dismiss his career. Tom Brady will always be Tom Brady. There will never ever be another Tom Brady. I don't even think Patrick Mahomes is going to get to 7 Super Bowls. I truly don't. But again, I don't think he needs to get to 7 Super Bowls or past 7 Super Bowls in order to do that. Brady is Brady. Brady set the standard. Brady is right now the GOAT, the greatest of all time, confirmed GOAT in everybody's eyes, probably except for people in Kansas City, but everybody's eyes, and rightfully so, in my eyes too. However, there's a real chance here that we could very quickly see that torch that took so long to get to Brady be very quickly passed over to Patrick Mahomes in the span of a decade, which is absolutely insane. In the span of a decade, so less than 10 years, which is just fucking crazy. So we got the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, 4:30 p.m. my time, Mountain Time, 3:30 p.m. West Coast time, 6:30 p.m. East Coast time. So great game. I think it should be a great game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Believe it or not, I know that the Chiefs have struggled scoring a lot of points this year on offense, but I think they're going to have to keep up with the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills are going to put a lot of the pressure on the Chiefs to score points, and I think that the Chiefs can. However, if Kansas City's defense really stops the offense and slows down the offense of the Buffalo Bills, I think Kansas City will have a much easier ride into winning this game. But it should be a great one. I hope it's an all-timer again. I hope it's something close to the 13 seconds. I mean, that game was just absolutely fucking nuts. I hope it's like that again with this. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. If Josh Allen, by the way, loses again, I see this particular quote-unquote rivalry as not Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes as in Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. I see this right now as Tom Brady versus Phillip Rivers. People get all offended like, oh, really not even Peyton? No. Josh Allen hasn't won a Super Bowl. He hasn't won an MVP. He hasn't gone to the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes, he has every single piece of hardware you could possibly imagine, and he's beaten Josh Allen every single time they play in the playoffs. So if Josh Allen loses again, regardless, he could play great. His defense could fail him, whatever you want to call it. If Josh Allen loses again, he will forever be the Philip Rivers, like forever, ever, ever be the Philip Rivers to Patrick Mahomes' Tom Brady. Forever. I don't care what anybody says. So that's kind of my take, my preview take on the Bills Chiefs. I got that score being somewhere like 35-38. High scoring game, I know, but I really do think that it's going to be a bit of a high scoring game such as that. Moving on to the NFC, again, a game that we did not have on our bingo card. Certainly, I didn't have it on my bingo card. The Washington Commanders versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were very suspected to go out and do good things this year, especially after acquiring Saquon Barkley, Mr. 2,000 yards, ninth guy in NFL history to win 2,000 yards. Just coming off of a 200-yard divisional playoff game. This is going to be the Commanders are playing with house money. The Eagles are expected to go out there and win and beat the Commanders by a considerable margin. However, with that being said, I've already said in the last video, Jaden Daniels has, without a doubt, now that he's in the NFC Championship game, has had the greatest greatest quarterback rookie season ever of all time, and rightfully so. And he has a chance to talk about history. Talk about history with Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be history for Jaden Daniels as well. Jaden Daniels, can you imagine if he wins in his rookie year and goes to the Super Bowl to compete for a Super Bowl title? Holy shit. Don't even get me started on the possibility if they were to win and go on to the Super Bowl that they would beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Fuck, man, forget it. I wouldn't even know what to say. I really wouldn't. But the fact that Jaden Daniels is here competing and bringing his team on and leading his team in his first year, again, you got to feel like you hit the lottery. You have to feel like you hit the lottery as a Commanders organization, as a Commanders fan, teammates, the training staff. These are unprecedented territories, and it's such a beautiful thing to see. I can't wait to watch this game as well. It's going to be at 1 o'clock over here, so it's going to be the early game. It's going to be the early game slate. And I really do think the Commanders have a good chance of beating the Philadelphia Eagles. At this point, like being this far in the playoffs, like you can't say, no, I don't believe in Washington because it's Washington, or I don't believe in Jaden because he's a rookie. No, like they're here for a reason. And their defense is playing extremely well right now. I think that the only way that they do beat the Eagles, I have the Eagles winning, but not by a large margin. And by the way, if their defense goes out and shuts down Saquon to the best that they can, they have a really good shot at beating the Philadelphia Eagles. Because I'll tell you what, one thing that's not, if I'm the Washington Commanders, one thing that's not going to happen in this game, you guys want to beat me, fine. If you guys can't beat me, fine. And you guys probably can't because you guys got AJ Green, Devontae Smith, who's the tight? I always forget. Goddard. You guys have one of the best offensive lines in football, one of the better quarterbacks in the entire NFL. There's a lot of weapons you guys have to beat us. But what you're not going to do is we're not going to allow Saquon Barkley to run over 200 yards on our defense on Sunday. Absolutely, positively not. That's what I'm telling my team. That's what I'm telling my defense. They cannot give up any type of yardage or anything to Saquon Barkley. If they're going to beat us, it's going to be Jalen Hurts, AJ Green, and Devontae Smith. And if it happens that's how it goes, fuck it. This is a house of money that we are playing with. We're not even supposed to be here technically, but we're here right now. And so we're going to make sure that if we do lose or we do go out, it's going to be by us putting ourselves in the best position to win and the best position to go out and compete and make this as close of a game as possible for as long as possible. And hopefully at the end of the game, go out there and not only put on a show, but go out there and fucking just, you never know. You really never know. I mean, I remember one time, and this is a little bit different because this wasn't even a rookie quarterback, but fuck, I remember one time, this is about 15 years ago. 15, 16 years ago, the Jets going into New England trying to go on a Super Bowl run. And the Patriots had always had their number. We're talking, this is the Jets team with Mark Sanchez, LaDainian Tomlinson, Braylon Edwards, Antonio Cromartie, Darrelle Revis, all of those guys. And they had always been beaten by the Patriots throughout the regular season, but there was a particular year that they had a mindset like, nah, fuck that. This year, we're walking up into New England and we're beating them, and we're gonna go on and advance in the playoffs. Now, I believe that was a divisional round that they beat the Patriots in. This is the NFC Championship game. I think the Commanders, if they go in tomorrow, they have that mentality of not fucking today. And by the way, the Commanders have beaten the Eagles, so they proved that already. And I've said it before, when it comes to rivalry games, you really never know. It doesn't matter what the record is. It doesn't matter who's doing what. It doesn't matter who you have on your team. It doesn't matter what records are being broken. None of that shit matters. What matters is that this is a rivalry game, a legit rivalry game, unlike with the other game that I told you about between the Bills and the Chiefs. This is a team that sees each other twice a year. This is a team that are very, very, very familiar with each other. This is a team they watch a lot of film on each other all year. They're going to be watching even more film on each other this upcoming because this is the third time that they're playing each other. So a lot of film is going to be watched. A lot of film is going to be looked at. And I think this is going to be, this could potentially be a better game than the Bills and the Chiefs. And it's for that reason, because this game could either go either way, or it could be, again, it could be a shootout and it's just going between two teams battling it out, be something close where it is a 33-36 game again, or whatever the case may be, something really close and a really tight game. And I'm excited for this game. I'm excited to watch this game. I'm excited to check it out. This is gonna be a hell of a game right here. We're all fortunate as football fans, NFL fans, to be experiencing this tomorrow, both of these games as well. So, but anyways, as far as the Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles, I got the Commanders winning. Similar score. I want to say 33-30. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game, but I think earlier I said I picked the Eagles. I kind of hope the Commanders win. I'll say the Commanders win 33-30, and I hope we see some history. So we'll see what happens then. But anyways, it's gonna do it for the NFL slate. Let's move on now we're gonna go ahead and talk about probably one of my favorite college football players ever. All right, so what we're gonna talk about here is, or who we're gonna talk about here is Jeremiah Smith, national champion, number one college football player going into 2025, number one player to potentially go into the transfer portal, maybe. In my opinion, the best college football player in the land, and it's really not even close. Jeremiah Smith, sorry, I'm trying to connect this. Jeremiah Smith, I don't think I've seen anything or anybody like him since fucking the Adrian Petersons of the world, kind of like Leonard Fournette's of the world, Julio Jones. But this dude is really in a class of his own. I have never, ever, ever in my life seen anything like this guy. Dude is all of 6'3", looks like he's 6'4", going up against most guys. 215 pounds. He had 76 catches on the year, 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns. Not to mention, going through his playoff run, 5 catches, 88 yards and a touchdown against Notre Dame. He had 7 catches, 187 yards and 2 touchdowns in that Rose Bowl game against Oregon. 6 catches, 103 yards against Tennessee and 2 touchdowns. This dude is otherworldly, and kind of getting into like a little bit of the hint that maybe he might be entering the transfer portal. Apparently, he's been offered $4.5 million to enter the transfer portal. But there was some tweets that he had tweeted out that kind of hint that he's going to be staying at Ohio State, and as he should. Ohio State is the number one program in the country, national champion, so obviously self-proclaimed number one team in the country. There should be. Some people might argue, Penn State, maybe Michigan comes back. I think Penn State is going to be a really good team to come back in 2025, come the fall, or later this year, coming in the fall, as far as college football. But Ohio State's going to be right there. Whether they're number one or number two, they're going to be right there in the top two, and a majority of it is because of Jeremiah Smith. I've been watching football for a very, very, very long time, since literally I could possibly remember. I've been watching college football for a very long time. I'm old enough to remember the Reggie Bush days. I'm old enough to remember the Tim Tebow days. Obviously, everybody for the most part now has seen some form or era of the Alabama run with Nick Saban. But I have never really seen, again, except for the few guys that I mentioned, like Adrian Peterson, Julio Jones, Leonard Fournette. It's very rare to see a guy like this where if college football if the NFL had the same rules as the NBA as far as when you could be drafted, Jeremiah Smith, as a true freshman, 19 years old, is getting drafted in the top 5 this year come April. If he wanted to leave school early, and he can't, but if he wanted to, let's say maybe you only had to be a year removed, whatever the case may be, whatever the case, and he was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go to the NFL draft. Even if he had to sit out, teams are taking a shot at him, and they're going to go ahead and draft him. I just think this dude it's unreal, unfucking real. Um, the body control that he has, the speed that he has at his size, and the strength. Not to mention the way he goes and catches balls at the high point. There's really no defender and no safety you can put on him. And don't even get me started on any linebackers. Nobody's going to guard him at the linebacker position. He's going to be so fun to watch. Him and Ryan Williams, by the way, from Alabama. He's going to be so fun to watch for the next 2 years to come. Who knows? And maybe he might, but granted, he is a true freshman, so he's probably going to have another couple years. So he's going to be so fun to watch over the next 2 years. He is already NFL ready. He is already an NFL caliber player. He's built like an NFL player. It just so happens that the rules are the rules. But he is going to be dominating the NFL. Dominating college football for the next 2 years. And eventually, yes, go on and dominate the NFL. And I'm saying it right now, barring any injury, I do believe that this guy goes on to become a first ballot Hall of Fame player in the NFL. He is a number one wide receiver on the majority of NFL teams currently right now. On any roster in the NFL, he's the number one receiver. He is the number one receiver in Carolina. He is the number one receiver for the LA Chargers. He is the number one receiver for the LA Rams. And I get that they got Puka Nacua. Maybe that might be controversial, but he's going to be better than Puka Nacua. For Puka Nacua, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Seattle Seahawks. Apparently, there might be some talks about them maybe moving off of DK Metcalf. I'm not 100% sure, but I've been seeing a lot of things online, but you know how that can go. He's the number one receiver in New England. He is the number one receiver in Washington for the Commanders. And we all love Scary Terry. I love Scary Terry, also an Ohio State guy. Jeremiah Smith is the number one receiver in majority. The only ones he's really not is the ones we already know about: Minnesota, Cincinnati, the Philadelphia Eagles, a lot of the same suspects. So, I thought maybe I kind of wanted to transition into college football a little bit. Shout out to the Ohio State Buckeyes on becoming national champions. What a great run. It turns out that Michigan loss that they suffered was the best thing that could have happened to them. They went out, and I said that, and I remember saying going into those playoffs that Ohio State could very much go out and go on a very big run here and shut up all the haters, including myself, and everybody looking to write them off already. I was somebody who was saying, Ryan Day is going to need to coach his fucking ass off to keep his job. And he is vindicted on everything. I don't even know if vindicted is the right word. But he has more than definitely made up for it. Ryan Day is not only keeping his job, but now he is back on top as being the number one head coach in college football. And quite simply because of the fact that he went out with this roster that he put together and won a national title in the fashion that they did. They were dominating the Notre Dame game. And I know the final score was what? The final score was 34-23. And which, by the way, the only reason why they were able to put up those last 3 points, because it was 31-23 at one point, was because Jeremiah Smith caught that insanely clutch pass of like 40-something yards down the sideline that put him in field goal range. Get him a field goal. The game's out of reach. That's a two-possession game. They go on and win the national championship game. I went out and said, as everybody did, everybody in the media, everybody who has a show like this, went out and said, if Ryan Day keeps his job, he's going to need to get to at least the national championship game, and he's for sure has to at least win. And that's exactly what he did. And he didn't just do that. They went out and dominated. Let's look at the other scores. 34-23 versus Notre Dame in the national championship. The majority of that game, they were up by 2-3 touchdowns. Texas, 28-14. Bit of a close game, kind of, but their defense came through and they won. At the end with Jack Sorin, that iconic, now that they won, that is forever going to be an iconic play cemented in Ohio State lore with the strip sack, scoop score, and fumble. You got Oregon the week before, 41-21 in the Rose Bowl, putting on an absolute fucking clinic on Oregon, the number one team in the country that was undefeated at the time. Tennessee, 42-17. I mean, this was just, after that, like I had said, there was a good chance Ryan Day was going to go out and be on a mission and have his guys on a mission to go out and shut everybody up and go out and win that national title, because that is all they heard going up to it was, is Ryan Day going to be fired? Is Ohio State really as good as they say? Ohio State, $20 million roster, and they can't even beat Michigan, who didn't even have their best player starting. All of that very true. And at the time, yes, it still reigns true. You can't lose to Michigan, let alone three straight years in a row to a first year head coach after Jim Harbaugh. That stuff remains true. And you can bet your ass that next year, no matter what their record is, they're going to look to finally put a stop to it and make sure it's not 4 years in a row. Because while I don't think next year, even if they were to lose to Michigan again, I don't think Ryan Day loses his job. If they very likely lose to Michigan again. I say likely because it's very likely now that they can. They can lose to them because nobody thought that they were going to lose to Michigan this year, let alone without their best players, two of them, top 15 players, and Will Johnson and Mason Graham. But, it's there's a very good chance that they do. But even if they do lose to Michigan next year, Ryan Day is going to keep his job. I think he's winning a national championship gives you almost like tenure as a football coach, especially in college. And kind of no matter what, as long as he's in the playoffs and as long as they're competing and as long as they have great records and they're bringing in guys and they're spending the money that they need to spend and they're keeping the guys that they need to keep, like Jeremiah Smith, they're going to go on and continue to win national championships. They're going to go on and continue to win playoff games and make these great runs. But Jeremiah Smith is an absolute beast. One of my favorite players that I got to watch this year. There's very few players, not that there's very few players that really bring back that sense of joy or happiness in me in watching the game. No, I love the game. I love the sport. I love college football. I had said going into this year that this is going to be such a good year. It's going to be fun to watch, and fuck, it was so fun to watch. I'm a USC fan, so that aspect of it, was a little disappointing, but as a football fan in general, I thought the sport this year was great. You had storytelling, you had upsets, you had teams that you thought wouldn't even make the national championship make it, like Notre Dame. Talk about storylines. Oregon coming in as the number one team in the country, undefeated, and Oregon was in the Rose Bowl, but Ohio State comes in to play you, and you get absolutely belted from the jump because of also a lot of it has to do with Jeremiah Smith dominating the game. You have an up-and-coming quarterback in college football, and Nico. I always forget how to pronounce his name, but I do know that he went to Warren High School, a school that I'm very familiar with because he went up against my former high school a couple of times during or when he was in high school when he used to play Lucerna. So you have Michigan beating Ohio State. It was quite literally the fucking equivalent of Daniel or Goliath's right there. Sorry, my mind is racing 100 miles an hour right now, just talking about all this stuff. But college football was great. Great year for college football. The 12-team playoff really made it fun. I don't care what anybody says about the first round saying, oh, they should have put... At the end of the day, Michigan went out and still beat Alabama. Alabama did not deserve to be in there. Even I'll say that. I thought SMU being in there was pretty cool. I thought for the fact that you got a couple as ACC teams, even though they did get beat, to be in the college football playoff was, it's a type of thing where when teams like this get to experience national recognition like this, it makes the sport better. It's going to make programs want to invest even more in their teams, want to invest more in their programs, want to invest more in wanting to be better. Clemson's probably going to be a better team next year. I think SMU has a chance to be a better team next year. You look at who else made Boise State. What a run by Boise State. You got Ashton James who led his team. And you can say all you want about being in the Mountain West, whatever the case may be. Ashton James led his team to the playoffs, being part of the Mountain West. Many people thought he was going to win the Heisman, but he did it. That was a bit of a storyline going into the playoffs. And, they did lose. They did play against Penn State. Penn State, one of the best teams in college football this year. But they eventually went on and obviously got beat. But what a way to cap off the year, though. It wasn't the most entertaining national championship, I will say that, except for maybe towards the end. Wasn't the most entertaining. There's definitely been way better games, but the way to end this year, to have Ohio State. Technically Ohio State were the first ones to go out and win the first college football national championship format 10 years ago. 10 years later, now we introduced the 12-team playoff, and they're the first ones to do it. And they did it in dominant fashion, like I said. Large part in that is because of that boy, man. Jeremiah Smith is something else. He's special. And I'm talking generationally special. Guy is NFL talent, NFL caliber right now, just having to play in college for a couple more years. He is absolutely going to dominate the college football world. He is absolutely going to dominate the NFL pro level when he does get there. And I seriously think he's going to go down as one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, if not already. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to talk about today. We're going to get into more of that. Tomorrow, I'm looking to do a reaction to the NFC Championship game. See, obviously, who's going to go to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. I can't wait for that. It's going to be exciting where I work at for ABC Fox. We're going to have that game broadcasted on our channel because Fox and ABC were all one big company. So pretty happy about that. Going to bring a lot of eyes and viewers to not just the company, but all the local channels as well. It's going to be a lot of eyes on us. So anyways, besides all that, we'll get into that and get into everything tomorrow. But I just want to thank you guys again for viewing. I am seeing that a lot of you guys are viewing the channel, viewing the videos. If you guys could go ahead and do me a favor and subscribe, leave a like. Also leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to, I always say it all the time. You guys like to talk shit to me about, or maybe you guys want to agree with me on something. Just leave a comment, leave a like. Go ahead and subscribe, please. Turn on the notification bell. It'll let you know when I do post more videos. I'm going to start getting into the rhythm of doing all that. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. This is The Read Step, and I am your host, Isaiah Ruiz.